Hey, you. Do you like drum and bass? Do you like jumper?
Yes.
Do you like filthy jumper?
Yes.
Do you want to know how to make sounds like DJ Looney?
Yes.
Like this?
I'm holding potent cheese and smoking weed till my lungs are black. I'm in a secret location, chopping trees like lumberjacks. The only person who knows is me, so it's all under wraps.
Then you better like, subscribe now, and watch this video. Let's go. So, let's get into this tutorial. Today, I'm going to show you how to make these DJ Looney sounding synths. Very good, to be fair today. I'm repping the hospital because these sounds are definitely going to make you sick. And you're going to need a doctor after this. So, let's have a listen to what we're going to make today. So, anyone who's probably no stranger to Jump Up has definitely heard some of Looney's tunes. Looney's tunes were some of the first I was hearing when I was getting into Jump Up D&B and definitely inspired me. And he's also one of the nicest guys I've ever met. We run sets up and down the UK, even over in Belgium. Always a vibe, always a sick time. He's a solid producer and a solid guy. So, when it comes to his synths, they're quite simplistic. But how he executes those sounds is very interesting. Sometimes, like I said in my last video, you don't have to overcomplicate things. If you want a sick sound, get a nice bass sound and then just slowly mold it into what you want. Think of your synth like a ball of Play-Doh and you just need to squish it, roll it, whatever you need to do to get it into the shape that you want. So let's get into this deep synth. So to make this deep pulsing kind of synth, we're going to need some wavetable that has some cool tones that we can bring out and pulse using an LFO. And I messed around with a few of them, and the wavetable after that. So, to make this deep pulsing kind of synth, we're going to need a wavetable that can get deep, but can also have some cool tones that we can bring to the surface in order to get that sound. So the wavetable I've gone with today is Mellowfant. Mellowfant is very cool because there's some really weird just like bits inside of it, no matter where you kind of put the dial, that you can really bring out when using like an LFO or an envelope. I was messing around with Scrapyard Carbon as well to try and get a similar sound, but they were sounding too metallic, a little bit too alien-y, but we want something nice, deep, simple. So Mellowfant, we're going to pitch this one down to around 36, and it will sound like that for now, but what we need to do is bring the wavetable position to just about 11, and the intensity to around 10. There you go, see, we start getting more of that kind of deeper sound. But we want it to pulse, so we can't have the amp all the way up. We're going to need to bring the amp down, and we're going to need to assign LFO5 to it. This way, whenever it's triggered, the amp is going to go up with the LFO, which will be connected here. So we look over to the LFO, and we want a really slow pulse. So we bring this down to 1-1. That's not really sounding right, is it? No, because we want it to be a constant note with the pulsing on top. So in order to do that, we're going to utilize the X fade curve here, and we're going to change this bottom one to 100%. So when it's 100%, it sounds like this. But as we bring in the other, there we go. See, we start getting the pulse on top of it, but it's still pushing through with the solid note. Then we're going to put this LFO onto the wavetable position here, but only just a little bit. We wanted to kind of just use the LFO to bring the ramp up so that it will bring out some of the little tones that are just hiding on this side. So you can dial it in by ear depending on how much you want it to sound. See, like that? You see how you kind of start getting more of that sound? And if you bring the intensity in, which will sound like this, you could start making it sound way more gnarly depending on how you balance that. But, as always, this isn't how to really make the sound. It's to show you a basis of how to get something similar. And then you can take it, flip it, spin it, and make your own ideas. Then as well, we just want to bring the attack up on the envelope so that we don't really get too much of a clicking on these kind of sounds. And to be fair, if you want more of a longer startup, then definitely just bring the attack up. But I like it around here. And then finally, for this sound, just something simple to top it off, give it a little bit of a boost. I'm going to use a sine shaper, and I'm going to bring the dry, wet all the way up, and then bring the drive just a little bit down here. And to top it off, just a little bit of distortion, I've got the tone up and a bit of drive. And there you have it. Your own Looney pulsing bass. Now I'm going to show you how to make that scratchy synth that you just heard earlier. As I keep saying, is you don't have to overcomplicate things when it comes to sound design. You can get some really gnarly sounds that you can resample just by using simple one wavetable patches. Sometimes you might need more, maybe you want some more tones in from another sound or another wavetable. All good, but I like to keep it simple for myself. So we're going to take the first oscillator and we're going to set it to deep throat. We're going to bring it down to -24 and we're going to set the wavetable position to just about 7. A little bit, like you can have a little bit up there. So now it starts sounding like that. Then we're going to get envelope 1 and we're going to set the attack to around 2 PM. And then we're going to bring the level down and we're going to bring the decay all the way up and leave that there. Then we're going to attach it to our oscillator 1 and we're going to bring this down to 64, -64. See, already you're getting some really cool sounds that you can mess with. We're going to bring the parallel sequence all the way up. And then we're going to set the pitch all the way here and the dampen all the way up as well. And we're going to bring the feedback all the way down. Next, we're going to turn on one of my favorite things to use in Massive, the frequency shifter. We're going to bring the dry wet all the way up and we're going to set the pitch to around 2 PM. See, already you're getting some really cool sounds out of that. Ooh. Ooh, that's already quite juicy. I cannot lie there. So next, to get it, I use a plugin by UHE called Run Citer. You can use any other exciter or distortion plugin, but this one just always works for me. Really cool plugin. Definitely recommend you get their bundle. Oh, isn't that just filthy? Ooh. Lovely. And then finally, we just EQ out some of the lows so that when you whack a sub in there, you're not really get any of the clashing from some of the low end of the synth. Lovely. Another filthy sound for you to use in your tunes. For any of you who may ask as well where the drums are from, they're from my free sample pack with my good mate Bully that we released on SoundCloud for free. Head over there, download it. It has over 175 plus samples. All drum and bass, rollers, jump up, pads, sounds, whatever you want. It's all in there. So head over to my SoundCloud to get that for free and start making some bangers. Now, let's get into this croaky bass. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. We're going to go to the deep throat wavetable once again, and we're going to bring it down -24. Set the wavetable position to around 10. See, you're already starting to get that weird croak sound. And then we're going to bring the amp down here because we want it to be very like 8th notey, kind of stabby, just doot 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 doot, which is what he does in a lot of his songs. So we're going to use the LFO once again like we did on the other synth. But as well, we got to change this to formant, so we start getting some of the really, really weird tones coming out. So we're going to put this on the amp here and bring the LFO all the way up. And because we want it on the 8th notes, bring this one down to 8. And we're going to use the triangle unison. So we bring the intensity all the way down here to around 8. See, there we go. Now we're really starting to get the croaking sounds out of it. We also just want to bring out a little bit more in our wavetable, so we're going to use the LFO to do that as well. And just dial this in by ear, depending on how much you want. Now we've already got it sounding kind of like how we want it, but we just need some little extra bits to kind of just garnish it off. Just a little, you know, little bit of Salt Bay action going on. So we're going to go to our filters, and we're going to use the Scream filter and set that to just about 11. This one to 3. And then the resonance down back to 9. And we're just going to add the LFO onto our cutoff as well here, just to bring out some extra little sounds in there. So once again, dial it in by ear and see how you like it. Once again, we meet with my favorite thing. What is it? The frequency shifter. Bring the dry and wet all the way up and set this to around 2 PM. You can really just change how you want the sound using the frequency shifter in so many different ways, which I'll show you in a second. But we're also going to add on insert 2, the sine shaper, and we're going to set that to around, just around 11. And then on the effects, we're going to add the browner tube. Sometimes I would like to use external distortion, but for simplicity's sake, just going to use this one here and set that to around 11 as well. And there you have it, your croaky, Looney sounding synth. And as I was saying, you can really change the sound around and make your own filthy tones just by messing with this frequency shifter. So have a listen. Filthy. Now, last but not least, let's get into the final Stabby synth that he likes to use at the beginning of his bars. We're going to be using one oscillator for this one. We're going to be using the bender oscillator. And we're going to leave the wavetable position all the way up. We're going to set it to bend plus. And we're going to bring it down 2 octaves. See, already we're starting to get that kind of just gnarly tone. But now we've got to get it how we want it sounding. So we want it to be like the stab. So it's kind of like the same idea as a womp. So we're going to bring the amp down again. And LFO5, we meet again. Attach that bad boy onto the amp. Set this to 1/4. Yep, leave the X-fade curve in the middle there. Then you start getting the kind of stabby kind of sound. And we're going to attach this to a wavetable position as well and bring it back to around 11. See, it starts bringing out a kind of weird little moist tone in there. There's like a little, if you really listen closely. But we need to bring out more of the sound, so we're going to be using a filter. I was messing around with acid, comb, daft, screen, and bandpass to see what ones kind of work the best, and I had to settle on acid because it always brings out some really weird little sounds in the middle of whatever you're making. So we're going to set this to around just like before 11 and bring the resonance all the way up. And now we're going to attach the LFO again, just a little bit. You see there, you start getting more of that kind of weird sound that gets let off through the cutoff. You can dial it in more if you really want, but it depends on what kind of sound you're going for. So let's have a listen. Then head over to your effects. I like to use a C tube and whack that baby all the way up to the moon. And there you go, it's already taken shape. If you'd like to beef it up a little bit more, just whack on a sine shaper. Then you start getting more of the scratchiness in there. Head over to your EQ. Get rid of the lows because you don't want it clashing with your kick and your sub bass, because a lot of these kind of wavetables seem to have a little bit of bass information just really down there that will mess up your mix the further you go on. And I just like to bring up some of the frequencies that are around like 390 and 2500. Just really brings out like just the little bits hiding in the mids that kind of give you those cool tones. And then just, as always, a little bit of distortion, whatever plugin you like to use. I'm using Logic's stock one, just for simplicity's sake. And there you have it, your croaky, stab, Looney sounding bass. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson on how to make some DJ Looney, grotty, filthy kind of sounding basses. My name has been Nave, also known as Red X or the Madman with the Afro. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Afro army today. It only takes 1 click and it's free. Don't miss out on future uploads. If you've got any recommendations for artists you want me to show you how to make sounds like, let me know in the comments below. It can be any genre, from drum and bass to house, garage, whatever you want. Let's get it popping. If you would like access to exclusive tunes every month, exclusive sample packs, early access to my videos, please head to my Patreon in the description below and sign up. There is content for you guys every month to enjoy, so do not miss out. Over and out.